Lots of people learning Icelandic struggle to get to a good level of fluency, and often the bar for learners is set really high, with many people saying that native Icelandic speakers just switch over to English as soon as they realise that they have a foreign accent. Let me know in the comments what your experience of this is as an Icelandic learner. The conclusion that lots of people draw is that Icelandic is just so difficult that it's impossible to learn to fluency unless you grow up in Iceland. Is this true? Well, no. I know from experience that with the right motivation, it's possible to learn Icelandic to a high level of fluency, just like any other language. So why do so many people think Icelandic in particular is difficult? Whenever you hear this claim being made, I want you to push back on that and think, difficult for who exactly? The truth is, there isn't really such thing as an inherently more difficult language. How hard a language is for a given person really depends on their mother tongue, the native language that they're starting from. English and Icelandic are both Germanic languages, so by that logic, Icelandic should be pretty easy for English speakers. Let's take Joe, for example, a native English speaker from the south of England. What he gets for free with Icelandic is a whole load of basic vocabulary. You don't really need to speak any Icelandic to have a guess at what hús, tré, and maybe even góðan dag mean. Joe also gets grammatical features like subject, verb, object, word order, phrasal verbs, which by the way are really difficult for many people learning English as a second language, verb tense, the concept of strong verbs, and a definite article. He's also equipped with some common sounds like th, and e. Isla, a native English speaker from Scotland, gets all of the grammatical knowledge with some extra goodies. She's likely to be able to make the trilled R sound, r, and there's also words like barn and clapper, which have cousins in Scots. What Joe or Isla don't get, though, is knowledge about noun, gender, and case inflections. Old English used to have these, but over hundreds of years, these gradually fell away. This means that modern English doesn't have any case distinctions with nouns, and we only have one ending, more or less, for plurals. So with that in mind, let's contrast that experience with that of Gosia. Gosia is a native Polish speaker. Polish has 7 cases to Icelandic's 4 cases. It also has much more complex verb inflection with more tenses. Icelandic technically only has 2, present and past tense. For Gosia, Icelandic inflection is unlikely to present much of a challenge. That said, what Polish native speakers tend to struggle with more is pronunciation. Polish only has 6 vowels versus the 8 in Icelandic, but one thing which is tricky is the th and th sounds, which we have natively in most dialects of English. However, the trilled R sound, r, in Polish is probably going to be helpful to Gosia when learning Icelandic. All this is to say that the idea of difficulty is different depending on your native language. There's so much more to say about this topic, so at some point I'll make a longer video where I can go into much more depth about the things that Icelandic has in common with certain other languages and the things that are very different.